After hours of exploring Farloom, I finally made it to the Citadel. If you want to know how I got here, make sure to check out the previous video, the card is right here. But before we get started on this video, I have some things I want to say. First of all, thank you all so much for the support recently. The channel actually just hit 1,000 subs, and that's absolutely crazy. So thank you all very much for the support. I think now that we're at 1,000 subs, I think it's time for a new profile picture. I want to commission an art piece, so any artists who are watching this video, leave a comment or something saying that you're interested, and we can get in touch somehow, we'll figure it out. Anyway, I feel like that's enough said, we can get on with the video now. I guess I'm at the Citadel now. Oh my god, it's you! To nobody's surprise, Lace is back, and she's here to taunt us. And during Lace and Hornet's exchange, Hornet drops one of the hardest bars I've ever heard. She says, I found those who claim themselves a god can rarely match the title, and experience tells me even gods can fall. If that didn't give you chills, I do not know what will. Anyway, this new area is absolutely beautiful, but the enemies are really strong and they hurt. I end up coming across the building that is called the First Chapel, and inside there is a bench. And right outside the chapel is a boss arena containing one of my favorite bosses from this game. I was not prepared for this. Alright, is this a Mantis Lord's dupe? Clockwork dancers? Oh shit. I actually want to show a lot of this boss fight, especially because I love it so much, and I just find it to be so interesting. During the first phase, they both slowly move in unison. Their attacks are pretty easily read, and they occasionally spit out this weird move, where they attack all over the place. After you hit one of them enough times, they both stop and end up going into phase 2, which is just a faster paced version of the first phase. This can get a little tricky because they're going pretty fast. Now when things really start to get tricky is when they enter phase 3. This is when they both stop moving in unison and move separately. I found this part to be so satisfying when I was able to dodge every attack. I think this is what caused the boss to be one of my favorites. And when you finally manage to take one out after 3 phases, the other one just moves around really slow and sad because you just killed its partner. I don't know, this makes her such a good boss fight and I really enjoyed this one. This is so sad. Oh, dude, that was upsetting, low-key. And after you defeat both of them, the arena shifts, leaving this thing to inspect. Voices start calling out to you from this apparatus. They tell you that you are the chosen one and they want to see us rise above. They want to hear the song of the architects, the voice of the keepers, and the melody of the conductors, so that we can worship the kingdom's divine heart. Whatever any of that means. I think I'm gonna concern myself with all of that later, because right now I just want to explore the rest of the Citadel because I just got here. This whole area has insane artwork. I'm kind of blown away by the entire set of this game. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. It gets much crazier from here on out. Also, please do not mind me, I'm going to be enjoying a beautiful bag of potato chips, so do not let that concern you. So, pretty much this place is really cool. And artwork is really good. I really like this game. Exploring this place is a big challenge. It is such a large area. There's so much to see and do. So needless to say, I do get lost quite a bit, but at the very least, I have this map now that allows me to see the objectives and where I need to go. So that helps a little bit. I do experience one of those mini boss rushes. Same things that I did in the last video, but they were no match for my skill. Hip hip hooray! I should definitely point out that there were several instances in the last video where I called something the wrong name and I was corrected in the comments, and I can 100% assure you that that is going to happen again in this video. I eventually came across a room that had these weird ring things that I could not bounce on, and I really had no idea what they were for. Foreshadowing. I was working really hard to get to any of the checkpoints that I can find on the map. But as you know from the first video, I am not very good at this game or at logic, so this took quite a long time. I also completely overworked myself by trying to get the first video out as fast as I could, and I felt like I was making no progress in this game, so it led to somewhat of a burnout, as you'll see eventually. The natural ambiguity of this game is a challenge for everybody, especially for me since I am not that intelligent. So it probably doesn't come as a shocker when I say that for the millionth time in playing this game, I ran around for several hours having no idea what to do. And you can definitely tell that by the footage that I've shown over the last minute. And I eventually finally do what I should have done a long time ago, and that is chill the freak out. This game is literally just supposed to be fun, so if you're not having fun playing it, then what is the point? With the giant step backwards that I took, I realized that I needed to make some progress, and that had to do with getting some upgrades. I did resort to Google a little bit. Oh well, I'm sure most of you use Google at some point during your run. Anyway, the little birdie on Google told me that down here I can get a special ability where I can pretty much throw my needle and I will dash towards that direction. Remember those rings I said foreshadowing about earlier? Foreshadowing. Yes, this ability is used on those rings, but we're actually getting this ability for a huge reason, you'll soon see. We have arrived in the Underworks, our first new location of the video. I enjoy the aesthetic of this place, it's really nice, and I don't even die here once. To be honest, Google just told me to come here. I have no idea what I'm even looking for. I have to get through some tricky parkour as well as some difficult time jumps. And guess what I got after all of this? That's right, it's the thing that Google was telling me about. We got our filthy paws on some claw line. I mean, just look at me go in this clip. I'm pretty awesome. I mean, that was fun in games and all, but we have somewhere else to be. Time for the more important part of getting this upgrade. I ran all the way through the Grand Gate and past these fellas right here. Remember these guys because something weird happens. I don't really remember exactly why I went to the blasted steps at first, but all you need to know is that I die here and I go back to the Grand Gate and I decide to talk to these fellas. But when I do, I am unpleasantly surprised by the last judge, a boss that I skipped in the first video. You see, you could have gone this way to get to the Citadel in the first place, I just didn't because there are a couple different ways you can get to the Citadel. But this piece of poo kills me. And while this boss fight was not necessarily that difficult, it definitely took me a while to learn. I'm not going to show you all the times I died, but I do eventually take him down, and all for what? I absolutely did not need to fight this boss. Anyway, here we are at Mount Fey, where I actually wanted to go in the first place. Now that I have the needle throw upgrade or whatever it's called, I have access to something very, very fun. It's called scaling up the entirety of Mount Fey without dying a single time so I can get the ability to double jump. Makes complete sense to me. And that's not even to mention, if you go too slow, you just freeze to death. There's nothing you can do about it. I mean, except go faster. But as a super handsome gamer gentleman who has beat Pantheon 5 as well as the Path of Pain, this is no issue for me. I don't know, in all seriousness, this really wasn't that hard. I've seen so many people complain about this part on Instagram, and really, you guys just need to I mean, don't get me wrong, this still took me like an hour, and I definitely was excited that I finished, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, cool, look at this, giant bird. We are granted the Fey Down Cloak, which pretty much just means we have a double jump. How neat. Back at the Citadel, I now had opportunities to go explore other areas. This place was called the Memoriam, and it was pretty neat because it was like a bunch of other areas in the game all put together in one small area. I was expecting this area to connect to one of the 3 places that I had to go in order to progress in the game, but that was not the case. But on the inside there was this puzzle, and when I completed it, it gave me a cog heart piece. I still have no idea what these things do. Please tell me in the comments. Back at the foreshadowing place, I finally climb up these rings. It leads to another new area called High Halls, and this place is tricky. Climbing up these rings past these really annoying enemies granted me another full spool steel spool thing. At almost the very bottom of this area, I came across this horrible, horrible place. If you played the game, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's just essentially another mini boss rush room. However, this one's a little different. This one sucks. And not because it's poorly designed, but because it requires actual skill. There were so many stages to this fight that I kept thinking that I was finally done, but more kept coming. I don't want to admit how many attempts it took to even get to this point in the battle, but it was a ridiculously high amount of attempts. Despite how many tries it took, I still died over and over and over again. But once I eventually took these 2 guys down, I finally thought it was over. I could not have been further from the truth. It turns out there was much more to this boss fight than I initially thought. And after dozens of more attempts, I finally took him down, only for there to be much more to this fight. That one giant boss was really hard, but do you know what's even harder? 2 of those giant bosses, all the way at the end. I certainly was not expecting double trouble over here, so needless to say, I died on my first attempt, and my second attempt, and my third attempt. To me, it was ridiculously clear that I was not going to beat this fight, so it was crucial that I got the important needle upgrades. However, this crazy losing streak back to back to back to back caused me to not play the game for like 2.5 weeks. But anyway, now I'm back. I knew exactly what I needed to be doing in order to beat the game, I just had no idea how to do it. I realized that there are still some parts of the Citadel that I have not explored thoroughly, so I decided to go back, and this ended up being the right decision. I stumbled upon this parkour that I previously had no idea was here. It led me to a secret passage in the Choral Chambers, which is fantastic because I believe it's going to lead me to one of the parts of the threefold melody. My heart absolutely sinks as I progress because I believe that I'm going to be in another super long boss chamber. But it turns out that was not the case, this one was really easy. Just past the arena, I found a place where I'm able to break through, and it leads me back to the first shrine. This cheeky little shortcut is very helpful. Just beyond the shortcut, there's this weird worm dude. He is able to play us music, and this will come in handy later when we get some secret item. That's enough of him for now. We need to go get that secret item. In the same area, I found another one of these bell puzzles, which granted me another cog heart piece. Still don't know what to do with these things. Everything I just went through leads back to this area in which I've been before. It connects back to the main Citadel. And I notice this weird mural on the wall. There's no way it's hinting at anything, right? Yeah, there's a little boss fight right here. Trobio's boss fight is very reminiscent of King Grim from Hollow Knight, and I will not elaborate on what I mean by that. He's kinda just a cheeky little middleman boss fight before you can progress a little further into the game. I do really enjoy the fight though, even though it only took me one try. I really like how extra and over the top his death is. Very fitting of the character. We gain access to this elevator, and then I discover a place that has a little bit of cheeky parkour in order to progress. But let's be honest, I'm really good at parkour and this is no problem for me. After doing all of that lovely jumping, it led to this giant open area. Since I didn't immediately find anything down here, I decided to leave, which ended up being a foolish decision because there is something down here that I need to progress in the game. Never mind that for now. I'm still on a mission and I'm still exploring new areas. For example, I found this place. This is a place I've never been before, and it leads to an area where I'm going to find one of the 3 components of the threefold melody. The parkour is mildly tricky, but as I literally just said a couple seconds ago, I am really good at doing this. I got up on my first or second try. But the fun isn't over just yet. There's quite more parkour to do. Let's pretend like I didn't mess up enough times where I literally got down to 1 health left. But besides that, it was easy sailing. Now I'm faced with a little difficult puzzle. I didn't fully understand this puzzle at first, and I'm not sure exactly what the optimal way to solve it was, but I noticed that every single one of these lines needs to be connected somehow, so I just did trial and error and I eventually cracked it. By doing this puzzle, I unlocked one of the components for the threefold melody. The Architect's Melody. 1 down, 2 more to go. Unfortunately for me, I already did all the hard work in working towards another one. I went back down the elevator to the place that I left earlier. And the reason that I couldn't find anything last time is because simply I went the wrong way. Stuff like this happens all the time when you play a Metroidvania. I feel like I was so close to this area, I feel a little silly for not being able to find this, but I did pick up the Sacred Cylinder. I had to make my way back to that snake guy from earlier so he can play the Sacred Cylinder. Doing this granted me the Vault Keeper's Melody, a second piece in the threefold melody. And now all we have left is one, and I think we all know what that one is. But before I'm even willing to tackle that, I know what I must do. Admittedly, I have gotten 0 needle upgrades throughout this entire game, and I felt like that was definitely a necessity in order to beat this fight. Back in Belheart, I accept the first free needle upgrade. Something that I should have done a long time ago. To be completely honest, I had no idea this was here. I had to use Google. Anyway, boom, first time the needle was sharpened. But anyway, this does not satiate the craving of strength that I have. I strive to sharpen this needle even more. I was made aware by a little birdie that pale oil is used to upgrade your needle, and it just so happens that some pale oil is located in the Whispering Vaults. The only thing in my way being this very easy puzzle. Huzzah, we have ourselves some pale oil. And just like that, we got needle upgrade number 2. Yippee yippee. I believe there is a total of 4 nail upgrades. The third one requires you to go around to all these people you've talked to throughout the entire game and collect ingredients for a concoction that you have to make. I realized that this was actually a lot of work after I already started it, and I decided that I'm already better off with the 2 needle upgrades, so I might as well try the boss rush again. As I headed back to the arena, I accidentally found this secret area. I was met with a rush of these terrible spider things that kept stealing my silk, but once they were defeated, it led me to this room where there was a lot of silk that I was able to break, and I believe that this completely despawned the spiders throughout the entire game. With my newfound strength, I attempt the boss rush again. This time, I immediately noticed that everything was so much easier. Enemies went down in 3 or 4 hits instead of the usual dozen. I was able to absolutely fly through the fight, but I still died a couple times to the last 2 enemies, which is no surprise, they are still hard to beat.
Oh, I fucking suck at this game, man. Alright, this is easy.
Once I was able to take one of them down, soon the one right behind it fell. I was so relieved when I finally defeated them. Just beyond the arena, I was able to learn the Conductor's Melody, the third and final piece in the threefold melody. Fellas, after 14 minutes we are finally able to progress in the game. Obviously now that we have the 3 components, we can finally play the Silksong. I don't actually know if it's called this, I just think it's funny. But now it's time to go up, 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 and away. We arrive in an arena that is filled with beautiful white flowers. And of course, we are also greeted by Lace.
Oh no, it's Lace. Dude, she's built.
What do you mean by that?
Wood. Oh shit.
I probably should have realized that I was being thrown into another Lace boss fight, but I did not. So I low-key got pieced up. This fight is actually low-key, high-key hard, but I also think it's one of the most learnable fights in the game. As the fight progresses, Lace gets her tweak on. She gets significantly more difficult after this, but honestly, her fight's not too bad, although it does take me a couple tries to beat. But seriously though, this Lace fight is in my top 3 favorite boss fights from this game. Now that we defeated Lace, we have access to fight the Mother, which is the final boss that Lace warns us about right before she passes out. I'm pretty sure she doesn't die. We have to lightly traverse through a couple areas before we can reach the final fight. We make our way to the tippy top of the Silk area, where we learn a little bit more about the plot, which I've given up trying to explain, and we finally make it to the cradle. Get it? Mother, child, cradle? And by doing just a little bit more climbing, we are able to challenge this giant ball of silk. We come face to face with the final boss of Hollow Knight Silksong. Grandmother Silk. As to be expected from a final boss in the game, it is kind of tricky. She shoots these needles at you that you have to dodge in 2 different directions, a Y-axis and an X-axis. She also throws out this move where you have to dodge in many different directions at once, and if you are grabbed by it, you get dealt big damage. And also, as you can see right here, she sometimes also does this move where she tries to scratch you. With all these components mixed together, it makes for a tricky boss fight. I thought for sure that this fight was going to take me very long, but that did not end up being the case. Obviously this right here is just the animation and her going into her second phase, but little did I know that only on my second attempt I would go on to defeat this boss. But I'm somewhat getting ahead of myself. As you can see right here, there is a new move that she does where she throws giant rocks down from the ceiling, adding another element to dodge. So now I not only have to pay attention to the needles going in 2 directions, but I also have to watch out and make sure she doesn't swipe me, and I also have to make sure I don't get hit by any of the rocks falling from the ceiling. But as an OG Calamity Mod Terraria player, this is absolutely no match for me. I have so much practice with this type of attack pattern that it isn't even that hard for me. I say this, but I almost died. But anyway, this fight was really quick. So quick in fact that I didn't even know that the fight was actually over. Alright, this is also below me. This can't be right. That was too easy. No, don't die. This was too easy. This only took me 3 tries. But yeah, we slowly killed the Grandmother Silk, and we took over something and whatever's going on up here. But that's it, we managed to completely cover the Citadel in Silk, which I didn't really know was our objective. I don't really think it is. I'm pretty sure I got the bad ending. I heard that there's an Act 3 for this game, and maybe I'll check it out and make another video eventually. But either way, this sure has been a Hollow Knight Silksong.